Hello, everyone, and welcome back to A Love Letter to My 20s. My name is Ariana, and today we are back in our stomping grounds. It actually has been a year since I posted my first podcast episode, and so I thought, I'm home, and it would only be right if I filmed this at my grandparents' house, which is where I started this podcast. And I'm also wearing the same outfit that I wore on my second episode. I didn't do this intentionally, but it's all very full circle. And so I only thought it was right to film this episode today because I just came back from a date with myself. I took myself out on a date, and one of my favorite places to go with myself is the beach. It's so peaceful. It's the best date ever. Like, I love it. I could literally sit on the beach. I bring my book and I go through a cycle and I just read my book. I listen to music. I sit, I meditate, I listen to nothing. I listen to a podcast. I talk about my podcast and write down ideas. Like, it's just a constant cycle, and I end up staying there for like hours. Like, I just love the beach. I love getting tan. I love the feeling afterwards. And like, literally every time I get home from the beach with myself, I'm driving home on like a dopamine rush. Like, I want to do everything. I want to go to the store. I want to do this and that. And so I took myself to Target and I had a day, and it was just so great. I love coming back home because it's so familiar and it's so fun for me, and I just love the shore, and I'm like so grateful for it, and I'm 10 times more grateful now. And summer is like my favorite season, so it's a great time. It's good vibes. So it was only right that I finished my day podcasting because this is one of my most healing things that I like to do. And it really has to do with the topic of this episode, which is one of my favorite lessons of the year. And me and my roommate laugh about this all the time because we're like, ever since we moved and I turned 23, she turned 27, ever since then, it feels like life and all these situations and all these lessons are coming at us like at God's speed. And we literally just like crack up because we're like, we had like 23 years of rest, and now it's just like boom, boom, boom. But I think that it's fun. And I think when you go through situations in life and you can keep the emotions with it in the past and not bring it with you as baggage, I think that is called getting wiser. When you can just take situations and learn from them and just continue forward and move on. And so I feel like I have come to an end goal of mine and a purpose of life. And this is just what I believe. So I feel like the purpose of life is to just become your highest version of your soul and self that you can be in this lifetime, regardless of all the external things in the world and all the situations that are going to be thrown at you, and just like learning from them, growing wiser, learning from people, learning from situations, and just becoming your greatest, best self. And I feel like that's why I love this episode so much. And this is like one of my favorite topics that I want to touch upon, is building the best relationship with yourself, because I feel like that is the purpose of this life, is to just continue to get wiser and become your best self so that you can be this amazing, wise soul that attracts and can take all the amazing things of life. Because I feel like to have a good relationship with life is to have a good relationship with yourself first. And I think that once you have a good relationship with yourself, you could be grateful and you could really see all the amazing things that life has to offer you. And so I want to talk about being able to find peace within and not without, and being able to find peace regardless of your situation and your environment and your relationships and all of that, and just be able to find it within yourself. And so I think that that is the first step in a health and wellness and healing and self-care journey, is nailing down your relationship with yourself. And so the first thing that I want to talk about is self-discipline, because I talked about this a little bit last episode with Alexa when we were talking about the vape. And so I feel like one of the best ways to build a really good relationship with yourself is to build self-discipline. And once you get down the idea of this sacrifice of choice, which I'm about to talk about, once you could get through this, I feel like you gain so much self-respect for yourself. And so what basically the sacrifice of choice is, and I heard this the other day, basically you can have everything in life, you just can't have it all at once. And so when you're in your healing journey and working towards your best self, a lot of the times you're going to be faced with two different choices and paths, and it's going to be a sacrifice a lot of the time. So I'll give multiple examples that you may come across. One of the easiest ones that I was talking about before is vaping. So there's two choices. You could either choose the really quick dopamine hit where you get that hit in and you feel good in the moment. And the other choice is, obviously longevity of life and your health and choosing to not hit it. There could be, if you're trying to protect your energy and your peace with your friendships, and you're around people and you're hanging out with people that don't really make you feel good, there could be that choice of going to hang out with them because you don't want to get FOMO. You don't want to experience FOMO, so you just go and you're upset after. Or you could choose the choice where, you kind of feel a little left out in the moment, but in the long run, you are protecting your energy, you're protecting your peace. Say you just went through a breakup and you're going through no contact. There's a choice of texting them or reaching out to them and getting that small little conversation dopamine hit. Or there's a choice of protecting your peace and not saying anything and moving on. One of the big sacrifices of choice that I really dealt with over the past year, I'd say more during the fall, was binge eating. And I remember, I think I was just like kind of upset. And so I would just like constantly eat to fill that void. And I would just like binge eat. And it was horrible. And my eating habits were so bad. And I was gaining weight. And I remember literally sitting there eating. And I think I was having a dessert. I don't remember what kind. It was probably something so sugary. It's probably Nutella. And I remember sitting there and literally saying to myself, I'm like, do you really not respect yourself that much? And I still continued to eat it. And especially with food, the sacrifice of choosing to eat well for yourself and put healthy things into your body and taking it day by day and doing these choices day by day, it makes you feel so good when you choose the option that is for yourself. Like when you ignore the little small feelings that you may feel in the moment of not choosing the worser option, when you choose yourself and when you choose your health and your wellness, and when you are treating your body well and feeding yourself good things and you're taking care of yourself and you're protecting your peace and your energy, it feels so good to tell yourself no. Like, to have the self-discipline and the self-respect to tell yourself no and like pick the greater option, even if it's going to take a little bit longer to see the results. And so I think that one of the biggest things that you could do to build your relationship is go day by day. It doesn't have to be this, I cut everything off of my life at once. But when choices come to you, think of it. And in each situation, each circumstance, you can see the choices and pick yourself and do this constantly and daily until it becomes almost subconscious and you do it without even thinking and you're always choosing yourself. And again, you could just take this slowly and take this with every situation that you come across in your life and always choose yourself. And there's this little fun fact that I heard in the Mel Robbins podcast, which I think she was talking to Dr. Amy Shaw. I think it might have been a different doctor, but take this with a grain of salt because I have not tried this. I've yet to try this out. But apparently, there is this method of the mirror theory because mirrors are very powerful. Mirrors are supposed to have like a really strong psychological effect on you. And so that's why I believe that this is probably very effective. I just haven't tried it. Some people literally like take a mirror and they'll put it in like their snack drawer, like a little mirror, or they'll put it where they would perform a bad habit. And it's like you have to face yourself in the mirror before you do it. And then usually subconsciously you choose not to go for that like really sweet treat or, do something bad. But I don't know. That's just something to maybe try out if this is something that you find hard. Maybe try buying little mirrors and like putting it in different places that you feel like may help you when it comes to sacrifice of choice. But really having self-discipline grows your self-respect. And the thing about having self-respect, and I say this in a lot of my episodes, is that when you have self-respect for yourself, that is exactly what you project to other people. Like the way that you treat yourself is how other people are going to see you and how other people are going to treat you. And so if you are someone that you kind of let people walk all over you, then new people that you meet are going to see that. They're going to see that, you let your friends treat you like shit and you still hang out with them just to be there and not miss out. And so they're going to treat you like shit. If people see that, you don't really care and you just like don't really take care of yourself and you never really choose yourself, they're not going to want to, put in effort and energy into you if you can't even do that for yourself. And so it really is self-reflections, and it really does affect all your relationships and the way that other people view you. And so if you are like, I don't really care if I don't have self-respect, just know that it also trickles down to everything else in life, and even all the things that you attract, and even like things like jobs and situations and all these things. Like the more that you have self-discipline and self-respect for yourself, and you can set your boundaries and self-respect for yourself, the more that you'll see it pay off in everything else in your life. And so when it also comes to the way that people view you and building a relationship with yourself, I have said this before in my episodes, but every year I write down in my journal like a word that I really want to focus on. The year before this, it was energy. And then the year before that, it was growth. And this year, it's authenticity. And for some reason, I don't know, it just every time I pick a word, it actually like situations happen in my life to where I have to like really practice the word. And so this year I really have dealt with authenticity and like trying to come back to my most authentic self. I think that I've managed to find a balance because in the beginning of my life I was very like people please, like very, if you want this favor, I will do it for you. Like, I got you. Like, I would strain my energy so much to make other people happy. And so then I tried the method of being kind of like a bitch and like being very standoffish and cold. But I think to be authentic, you could still be yourself. You could be kind to people. You could be a good person while setting boundaries for yourself. And that goes back to the self-discipline and the self-respect, is that now you're going through every situation exactly the way that you would react in your exact self. And so you're feeling good. And then you could put down your foot. And if someone asks you to do something that kind of strains your energy, or if people start taking advantage of your energy, you can have the self-respect and the self-discipline and the boundaries to be like, I am not putting up with this. Like, no. And so I think that it's been a rocky road trying to be like super authentic to myself while also setting boundaries. But I think that there's a happy medium for everyone. And I think that once you find that, you also start to really love the relationship with yourself, because you know that you are being yourself in all situations, and you are also still setting yourself boundaries of what you will and will not put up with. And I think that once I started being like myself and I was interacting with people, it's the best feeling in the world when you can meet people and they genuinely accept you for exactly how you are and you don't have to put up a front. I feel like I have been in situations where, I have wanted to be someone's ideal person, especially when you're in the dating world. It's like you want to be like someone's dream woman. And I remember like wanting to be, the ideal woman for a man. And I would read books like, what's it called? What's that one book? Oh, Why Men Love Bitches. And I would try to be someone that I was not. And I would, just like instead of being like myself in situations and the way that I react, I would try and like put a guard up and I tried to be like very standoffish or I tried to be like, I don't care or like, you know what I mean? And you don't have to be, the ideal woman for a man because that's different for every man and someone is going to accept you. And I think that if you are just fully yourself, going through these, phases and meeting people and trying to make new connections, if you're yourself and you find that people actually, accept that, then it's the best feeling and you grow your relationship with yourself even more because it's like I could be fully myself and know that everyone around me accepts it and know that, like new connections that I'm meeting actually accept it. And it's a great feeling, and I think that it's worse when you try to play this front of being like a bitch and you try to be this like cold woman, this dark cat or whatever, dark feminine energy or whatever's going around. I remember like binge watching videos of trying to like tap into my dark femininity and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, you get to that point and you get the man and you get like all that, but it's like you are not yourself in those situations. So is it really worth it? You know what I mean? Like when you can be yourself exactly how you are, you react the exact way that you do, and you speak the way that you normally speak, then you'll be so much more grateful for the connections that you make because you're making them fully as yourself. And it's kind of like, when you're building a relationship with yourself and you're not authentic to yourself, it's almost like you're trying to start a relationship with like a catfish. Like you can't really get to know that person that well, and you won't be able to get to know yourself that well if you're not really truly acting like yourself and you're not being authentic to yourself. And so I think one of the biggest parts about building your relationship with yourself is being authentic in every situation and interaction and encounter that you have going forward while also setting boundaries and having self-respect. And I saw this thing that it was like once you can build a really good connection with yourself and you're in the dating world, it's like now these people have to compete with you because you know exactly what you like to do. You know exactly how to treat yourself. You know how to take care of yourself. You know how to bring yourself on dates. So it's almost like the person that you meet kind of has to live up to that standard and live up to or be better than yourself. And I think that's how you end up building these really good relationships, and you have a life surrounded by friendships and relationships full of people who actually want to care for you and treat you well because all of them had to compete against yourself, and you kind of only let people in that you feel like are worthy and deserving and are good intentional people. And so, yeah, I think being your own best friend is like the best way to kind of structure your life and kind of take over your life, and everything else will fall into place. And so, I want to end off with this little story and blurb that has to do with this topic. And I don't think that I really shared this in depth with really anyone besides my mom. But basically, over the past couple months, I had never really in my life dealt with panic attacks. I've dealt with friends that have had panic attacks, and I've dealt with a lot of friends who have like major anxiety. And I've been grateful and lucky enough that in a lot of my life, I never really had to deal with really bad anxiety. Like I would have it here and there, and I think that I've been lucky enough and blessed enough to be able to kind of get through it very easily and very quickly. And so these past couple months, I had three panic, like really bad panic attacks. And it was something that was like very new for me. And I knew what it was because I've had friends who have dealt with it before. But the other day, it was really bad. I was driving home and I have a 2.5 hour drive because there was a lot of traffic. And so I was an hour and a half away from both homes. And I was stuck in traffic and I literally like just needed to throw up for some reason. Like my heart started racing and I knew that it was coming up and something was, wrong. And I think I was just like really in a bad mental state. I was just like overthinking a lot of things and I started freaking myself the fuck out. And I'm in the middle of traffic. And I remember so badly, like going through my mind, like my call list, and being like, I could call this person and I could call this person, or I could call my mom, and all I wanted to do was just call someone and just be like, help. And I literally like thought about it. I was like, you're gonna call them and what are they gonna do? Like, you're in the middle of traffic, they can't come pick you up, they can't really help that much. And so I just sat there and I was like, we're gonna get through this together. And I was talking to myself out loud like a fucking crazy person. And I talked myself through it. I was telling myself things to calm me down, like situations and things that made me happy. And I literally was like calming myself down, helping myself breathe, telling myself that, this has happened before, you're going to get through it. And lo and behold, I finally get to a rest stop and the traffic was done and I ended up getting to the rest stop and I called my mom and I cried. And I think I actually genuinely cried out of pure joy because I had gotten through it myself. And it was like so stressful and it was so overwhelming. And it was one of the best feelings in the world to be able to know that like I could speak myself through something really hard. And so I think that the best thing and feeling ever is knowing that you will always be there for yourself and that like you can always rely on yourself, and that in any situation, any circumstance, regardless if you have no one, if like you can't call anyone, it is so comforting to know that you have yourself. And when you build this strong relationship with yourself, you will know and you will be so confident in the fact that you know that you will always be there for yourself. But if your relationship is bad with yourself and aren't fully there with yourself and you haven't grown your relationship, you will end up relying and depending on other people during these situations. Then when you can't rely on these people or when something happens, you don't know how to do it yourself, if that makes sense. And so that's why I feel like it is so important to have this relationship with yourself and know that you are always there and learn how you react to things and know what triggers certain things and certain reactions, and just knowing how to take care of yourself and knowing how to treat yourself well. And I think once you can do that, you will start to attract all these amazing things in your life and you'll be so grateful for all these amazing things. And like I said, to have a good relationship with life is to have a good relationship with yourself first. And so that is the main first step in your health and wellness journey. Setting boundaries with yourself, telling yourself no to certain things, taking care of your body and your health, and choosing the option of yourself, and being authentic in all your connections, and choosing good connections to bring into your life, and going through really hard things by yourself and talking yourself through. Even if you have to be a crazy person and speak yourself through hard situations, knowing that you could get through things alone is like one of the best feelings in the world, and it makes you feel so comforted and so secure. And so I want to do an episode for the next part of my health and wellness series on habits that I added into my routine and into my life that really changed my life. And I'm really excited for that episode. But I think that this is the first step. I think that this should be your main goal when it comes to taking care of yourself and like wanting to get on a self-care journey, is wanting to build the best relationship with yourself, because I always say in all my episodes, you will never waste your time working on yourself, and that is the best way that you could spend your time in this lifetime, is working on you and your relationship with yourself. And so that is what we are going to be talking about in the next couple episodes of the health and wellness series, is doing things that will continue to build your relationship. But this was just like a little intro to that. Yeah, so thank you guys so much for listening. And if you want, you could follow A Love Letter in My 20s on Instagram and TikTok. And you could follow me, Ariana, with 2A's.N on Instagram. And with that being said, I will see you guys soon. Bye.